Morning. Just start and we'll just get a start and people can watch back the recording as well. So yes, it's being recorded and we're welcome. We'll share the recording afterwards and you're welcome to watch back any bits that you want to see again. But I'll just quickly introduce myself and welcome to the Copilot Pilot webinar. So this is sort of an intermission in a three-part series, and I'll go through that in a second. But I'm Anthony, and I'm a technical consultant here at Antares, and I work in the customer success team. However, I've been lucky enough to have been exposed to a broad range of things and get involved in modern work through Power Apps and SharePoint, as well as Copilot. So I'm keen to dive into Copilot today and sort of maybe expose some use cases and go through what that sort of may look like for a Copilot pilot and why we should be doing that. I'm also lucky to work with our own AI platform, Qbot. And I've worked with customers that are, all in their own stages at our AI journey. So, you guys must be interested in Copilot, and you guys are all at different spots in your AI journey. And just seeing how this Copilot pilot can fit into that, I'm keen to understand. And sort of the purpose of this session is to be a bit more relaxed, create some open dialogue in between the main Copilot sort of webinar sessions. Cool. So as I said, this is the sort of intermission between those first two dot points, the first two webinars. So we've just gone over the how to start a Copilot pilot. That was in December, and the next one's coming up in February. This is just a coffee chat, recapping quickly some of the things that we covered in the first one, and then an opportunity for you guys to ask some questions, maybe me to answer some questions that I get asked frequently as well. Prepare you guys for what's coming up next. Cool. So today we're just going to cover, we're going to cover what a pilot prevents and creates. We covered this in the last session, but I think it's really important to understand the value that you guys get from a Copilot pilot, and also the things that it may uncover as well. So this is a part of your journey that's sort of introductory to AI, and it can help uncover some gaps, and we can help you through those gaps so that you're ready for a pilot. And then the framework for defining use cases. So the way I think about AI is I think about AI as a person or a role. It needs to be given a job to do. You can't just throw AI at something and just say, look, it'll do everything all at once. You need to define robust use cases that can fit into our framework to get real return on investment with your AI, with Copilot. We'll go into a specific example of that as well, and then we'll open it up into some questions as well. Cool. Okay, what a pilot prevents and creates. So ultimately, the purpose of the session is to recap and for it to be a forum for you and any questions. But a pilot, as I sort of mentioned before, it's an opportunity for us to understand some of the gaps before having a Copilot deployment. So we may have gaps in security. Let's say a common question that we get asked is, hey, how do I know I'm ready for a Copilot pilot? I'm a bit concerned about security. A pilot is a good chance for us to deploy Copilots for a trusted set of users to identify any risk, but also any value. So it bolts onto our broken processes. It identifies risk for us and brings in value. The pilot builds use cases. So with that trusted group, let's say it's HR, right? So HR is, in most organizations, I'm assuming to be a pretty secure business unit, and you have some trusted users in that HR unit. You could give them Copilot pilot for a period of time, and you're able then to define some use cases there that are with a safe group of people in a safe environment that's applicable to a wider group of people as well across your organization. So say it could be use cases that are related to admin work that could then be applied to executive or finance as well. You could have use cases in HR where they're doing repetitive admin roles, tasks that can be then applied to finance. So that goes back to that thing about patterns and repetition. So we really want to find the simple, easy use cases that are they're sort of high impact and that represent and bring high value. So they're very feasible and they give you a good return on investment. So these are some of the things that we can sort of expect to see with our pilot. Move to the next one. Just a question I think about. I won't necessarily take your answers now, but just something that I'd like you guys to think about as we're going through this and we're going through the framework. If you can think about a small task or even a small task that your team may do, something that's repetitive that you may do every week or every day. It's that thing that annoys you. I understand. Like I've got experience. My previous job before this, I was in healthcare, and I was as a technical resource on an IT team, and there were little bits and pieces that I remember that, I can imagine there's small tasks that irritate you, and if you could just get rid of them, it saved you time to devote your time to the more important things and what your role is about. If you can think about those tasks and the time that it might save you, just hold on to that thought, hold on to that sort of use case. And as we step through this framework, you may be able to get a vision for, I guess, what this could look like. But then also happy to talk about those later as well and ask questions as well. But just a quick food for thought as we're going along. Awesome. So our 8-step framework. So this is sort of part of our plan to tackle use cases that you guys, I guess, will find through going through with a Copilot pilot. It's important to have a plan so that we can present our plan back to our executives, our leadership, our users, and say, hey, look, we've gone through this process. This is the approach that we've taken, and this is the return on investment that we've got. So by having a prefixed plan that we can apply to our use cases and our AI Copilot pilot, it gives us security in making sure that we're getting value through the process. So I'll just quickly recap on some of the steps. And also just in regards to this and sort of working through that, this should be a collaborative process as well. So it should be a process where you're getting a committee together or your IT team, but also thinking beyond the lens of your maybe executive team or your management and getting people on the ground. You want perspectives of people and that goes back as well to what we're talking about that question about a task that is repetitive and it's 30 minutes, they save you 30 minutes. It's important to get the perspectives of people that are working on the ground and really understand the pain points in their jobs and helping them to have some relief in that so that they can then focus on providing real good impact. But for step 1 and 2, I think it's really important there. Obviously identifying our recurring work and mapping them. So we need to talk with our people. We need to identify everyday tasks and look for tasks that particularly cause delays or that involve information hunting and consolidation. So Copilot and AI, we all know it's great at information hunting and consolidation. And this is another common question that you may receive, or you may even ask now. You say, okay, I already have Copilot. So why do I need to do this? You have Copilot, but you have Copilot in a unpaid capacity as part of your current Microsoft licensing. What Copilot really allows you to do is to tap into your organizational data, so documentation. So instead of spending time hunting through information, consolidating information on proposal or any work that you may be doing and chasing people up, Copilot can bring all that service that, even from meeting minutes and transcripts. It's pretty cool. Gets me excited talking about it. But yes, it's important to start there and really understand the everyday tasks that are your pain points. We move on then to interviewing and then observing. So where do we lose the most time? So prioritizing those tasks. So we've identified a couple of different tasks that are pain points in our 1 and 2. Now we got to prioritize them and understand them a bit more. So where do we lose the most time? What tasks are we repeating each week? And what causes unnecessary work? The pilot then creates a safe space for these issues to surface as well. So maybe there's a task that someone doesn't necessarily want to talk about. Maybe it's something that is adding unnecessary time. They don't feel comfortable in a normal setting to raise. A pilot is a good opportunity for them to do that. So that's the sort of interviewing process as well. We then translate those pain into prompt patterns. So we compare the pain points that we've gathered against common prompt patterns, and I guess we help with that as well. We have been doing this for about 12 to 18 months now since I guess Copilot started, and it's changed dramatically. Copilot's changed a lot. So, I mean, I was talking to a colleague this morning and he used the analogy of it's like, it's like a calculator for a school, right? At the start, it was very, people like, you can't use that, only universities can use that, and people have to do things by pen and paper. But as things progressed, it becomes cheaper, it becomes more widely accepted. So like Copilot licensing has changed dramatically. I remember when I did my first Copilot readiness assessment, licensing was, double or triple the amount of what it is now. I think it's about $30 per user per month. So it's becoming more available. But yeah, sorry, back to I digress. Coming back to number 5, we need to gather our pain points against the common prompt patterns. So summarizing, creating, extracting, transforming, refining, deciding, and these patterns will create repeatable value. So it goes back to that process of repetition and return and patterns. We want things that are applicable to more than one use case. We check our fit criteria. So they must be a frequent use case. They must have high effort and have data that's accessible as well. So usually in your Microsoft stack, you guys coming to a Copilot pilot, I'm assuming you've already invested in Microsoft technology. So you've already made the commitment to being invested in, a Microsoft ecosystem. So really having a Copilot pilot, throwing it on top of that is a great way to test and understand whether your organization is ready, but also to understand the return that you get from having all of your data in that ecosystem. It's a part of your Word and your PowerPoint and your Excel, and you're able to query within there, which I think is awesome. It's great value on top of what you've already sort of paid for and set up. Part of checking the fit criteria is also when we understand when to pursue or park the pilot. So it's okay to not be ready for a Copilot pilot. It's okay to go through this process in your AI journey and to get the number 6 or the fit criteria and say, look, our data's not ready. The results that we're getting here, we would like to improve. There'll be some elements of Copilot where it'll perform really well, and there's some elements that it may not perform as well. But that's, I guess, what we're here for as well. We've worked with other people, other companies, and we've sort of tried and tested what works and what doesn't work. And I guess we're sort of here a little bit to help you as well. Get what you sort of more to the benchmark that you're looking for, right? With those sort of areas that may lack a bit more. And then, to understand, if it's okay to park, whether that you need to do a data assessment and get your data ready, whether you need to look at security, and those sort of things, they can be separate conversations. And then number 7 and 8, so understanding the impact and the feasibility of our Copilot pilot. If it's high priority and it's high feasibility, we're pilot ready, so we can go ahead. And then also understanding our baseline. So the time spent the output quality, and any reworks that need to be done, we can report to our executives. If we have a baseline, we have some sort of ROI we can refer to. If we don't have a baseline, then it's hard to report back and say, look, this is the value that we've got. So I think the baseline is really important to support yourselves. If you're not an executive, to support yourselves with pushing a Copilot pilot. I'll just take a breath. Awesome. So now we'll go into an example, just a quick example. And as I asked the question earlier about, that task that may say be 30 minutes, think about that as well and how that would fit into maybe the framework that we just went through as well, and keep having to think about that. And I'll be interested to hear some of the questions or thoughts, and you can share. I guess you can share together and amongst between each other and help each other. We're all in a different stage of our journey, so we can help each other out there. But with the status reporting workflow example, before we had, chasing people, looking for information, manual work, whereas Copilot now can extract and bring and surface information and draft sort of content for you. So that's the start, but I'm going to reiterate it again. Remember that AI is a role and it needs to be defined, and Copilot Pilot can assist with this. So it's about finding that use case and defining what that looks like and how Copilot can assist. It needs a job to do, it needs a task to do, and a pilot can really assist in surfacing those use cases. And that's sort of what we help to do. We have some common use cases that we encounter as well. But yeah, as I'll say it again, Copilot scans your emails, it scans your Teams, your chats, your shared documents, your project management tools for relevant status updates, and it can pull out progress notes, blockers, key achievements from transcripts. So, no more manual rewriting of your weekly project status reporting update, because you have Copilot to pull all of your things and information from multiple sources. I know our PMs here really value it because they have everything. Being a PM, you have lots of information, lots of places, lots of conversations, and having Copilot, an AI tool, is really valuable in time saving for those sort of tasks. Cool. Let's open up. I'll be curious to see if anyone has any questions, and if you don't, that's okay. I can maybe ask some questions that you may have, but I'd be interested to see if anyone has any questions about the content that we covered, and that was covered in the last webinar. But also any questions, where are you guys at in your AI journey? Yeah. That's your name, but yes, Michelle.
Sorry, just unmuting.
That's all right.
How do, perhaps it's my organization's subscription or admin settings, but how do I connect Copilot to the other Microsoft applications so that it can directly search data and documents and things like that? And is there a higher level version of Copilot, or are we talking about just the stock standard built-in version?
Yeah, so here we're talking about the higher version. So we're talking about that elevated Copilot. So currently there's sort of two levels of, two tiers of Copilot, and that's the sort of tiered licensing that you get with Microsoft. So if you have a Microsoft license, you get Copilot, and you get Copilot free, and that doesn't integrate with your information, your work information. That can just do basic web queries. There's a whole decision matrix of what it includes and what it doesn't include. But what the Copilot paid licensing includes, it's about $30 per user per month from my memory. It includes that ability to be able to toggle to a work view and query your work content. So it can look at information that's in your SharePoint libraries, It can look at information that's in your meeting transcripts. And you ask a question about how do I go about that process? That's something that we would cover, I guess, in the technical deployment and I guess when we get to deploying Copilot. But I think it's important as well before we deploy something like that, that we identify use cases for it. So identifying where you can get, because obviously you're paying more, right, for this licensing. And it's important, I think, to identify where you're going to get your money's worth. But yeah, that's the sort of the process. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I mean, you kind of need to know what it can do.
Correct. So this is what
before you can kind of figure out whether or not it's going to offer value.
100%. So that's what a Copilot pilot is for, is for understanding what Copilot does and what it can do for you. Every business is different. Like, I mean, I'm not going to look, you have education, we have healthcare. I'm not going to pretend they're all the same, right? So you need to understand how Copilot works in your organization specifically. And running a pilot is really valuable to it's sort of testing with a trusted group of users and understanding use cases. So understanding situations where we can use it. And then once we've identified those, then we can go ahead and say, okay, we've got good reason to do this. We've got good reason and return to get this licensing. And then it's all available there for you.
Okay. If you could provide a link or somewhere where I could get some more information about some of the technical details, that would be really useful. Thank you.
100%. We can, and just want to say as well, if there are any questions that I can't sort of answer, if it's super technical or outside of sort of my sort of scope, we can come back to them as well after the meeting and we can have a tailored response to that in an email. But yeah, 100% Michelle. It's a great question. I'm sure a lot of people have that question as well, but I can send you a link with some more technical information regarding that after the meeting. Thank you for your question. That was awesome. Anyone else for some questions regarding the pilot? Let me just check the chat as well. One of the, because while you guys are thinking, or maybe it's a question that you are thinking about, but you might not want to ask, something that we get asked, I guess, semi-regularly is it's, security and how do I know my data is ready? I want to go with a Copilot pilot, or I want to get AI, it gives me, puts me on the same playing field and it gives me a competitive edge and going through my AI journey, I'm ready. But how do I know? I'm concerned about data. I'm concerned about security. What do I do? It's very common, and it's okay to be concerned about that. It's important to be concerned about that because we're concerned about that too. There are steps that we can take to understand the data and security in your environment. And I think also that's sort of what a Copilot pilot is there to do. I mean, and at the end of the day, it comes down to your core, right? So, I mean, if you want to go ahead with a Copilot pilot and maybe identify some of the your data issues with a small trusted subset of users, you can maybe identify some of the security things that we may need to tighten. And alternatively, we can do a Copilot readiness assessment. So that's a structured evaluation to determine how your data will adapt or is ready for Copilot. So through that process, we have a look at your data. We run, I guess, Copilot and some testing with you guys. And then we're able to sort of determine whether your data is ready. Michelle, you had a question.
Thanks, Anthony. While you're on the subject of security, can I ask, does the data that is uploaded into Copilot, is it used to train LLMs, and where are the servers that are used to process this? Are they in Australia or are they overseas?
Yeah, so from my understanding, firstly, no, your data isn't used to train LLMs. So through purchasing a Copilot license paid, and where it's now I can look at your work data and you're asking questions and it's got exposure to your work data, that information, the prompts that you're using, the conversations you're having, that isn't used to train the LLM. And from my understanding, I believe the data is stored here in Australia. But I can 100%, I can confirm that for you. But I'm like 90% sure that it is stored in Australia. But I'll just double check just to make sure. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Would anyone else like to maybe share where they're at in their AI journey, or any of the concerns that they may have about Copilot or undertaking an assessment? Cool. Well, I think if that's all, that's all we might cover today. Then I think I've covered the questions and content that I wanted to cover. Again, I'm open to any more questions that you have, and you feel free to send me an email. I'll put my details up here for you. Send me an email or give me a call. Happy to have a conversation or just ask a question. Happy to have a quick conversation, ask a question, and understand. Like I've been in your position as well, in an organization, was sort of moving to Copilot in a healthcare organization. So I sort of understand maybe where you're coming from. Happy to have a chat about it, and just listen to where you guys are at. But yeah, thanks for your time today, and thanks for attending and listening to me talk. And thanks, Michelle, for asking some questions and having some conversation. I really appreciate that. But yeah,